And she, at the end of the day, she looked at me and she said, Sonny, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to do what you do. But I was a little more sort of a smart aleck, and I didn't know it at the time, and I said, but I'd really just rather own the firm.
Hey everybody, it's a new Money Chronicles from MarketCounsel Summit 2024. I'm Johnny Sandquist.
And I'm Torie Happe.
And we've got Robb Baldwin. Thanks for joining us, Robb.
My pleasure.
So Robb, you are founder, CEO of TradePMR, and you've just had this exciting news about the Robinhood acquisition for you guys. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's our first question for you, is really just why Robinhood, right? Like, what made sense about them?
Yeah, two major facets to this situation is, one is Robinhood has 25 million customers that are the generation that's going to inherit the next mega wealth pool of $126 trillion. And we've been discussing how to reach them now for a dozen years at every conference I've gone to. And the truth of the matter is, 12 years ago, the numbers were the same as they are today. 70% of heirs fire their financial advisor when they inherit money. That number has stayed the same. So in other words, we've done nothing about this, and nothing has been solved. So, when I saw the Robinhood deal and they approached me and started educating me on who they were and what they were about, I realized, wow, we're going to be able to solve this. We're going to be the first ones to solve this by not trying to change them, but just meet them where they are, and they're at Robinhood.
Sure.
So that is a facet that I just never knew existed, and it was a great opportunity. And number two was, Robinhood has built their own technology. Most people don't understand the fact that every financial firm in America is built on a legacy platform. There's only about 5 platforms that exist in the country, and all of us have built and cobblestoned our user experiences on top of these legacy systems. And when I asked Robinhood what legacy system they used, they said, we created our own.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it, because that's the first I've ever heard of a firm that did that, and they have 24 million users on top of it, using it every single day. And they built it in 2 years, and it's all on AWS, which we are also on AWS. So we're actually going to build our systems, instead of on a legacy platform, we're going to do AWS to AWS, which is magical. So for us, that was just a revolutionary change with everything we want to do in the future in our industry and drive innovation in the RIA space. Yeah, you can't do it on legacy systems.
Right. Yeah.
We have to have the right core to do that with, and they had that.
And this is a theme I've been hearing a lot here at MarketCounsel, is this longevity. What are we doing to keep the business moving forward? And I love that you guys took into account how that longevity looks for you, right? You guys looked past the Gen Xers, and you're actually looking towards like the millennials of inheriting that money, and how are we interacting. Our technology and the way we work with our advisors is very different, and I love that you guys are taking it upon yourselves to push the business and push our industry forward to look at those changes that are coming, and they're coming up quick.
They're coming up really quick. I've been at this for 30 years now, so I have seen the evolution of the RIA space since really the inception. And when you look at what we went through in the 2000s, we had so much innovation, so many great things start. Money Guide Pro started, Redtail started, InvestNet started. They were nothings until they started coming to the conference and hitting the RIA space and blossoming out from there and going into the brokerage world, the wirehouse world, and so forth. But this is where they got their start. And we have, unfortunately, when Schwab bought TD, it sucked out the innovation because everybody would innovate to TD first.
Right.
And that vacuum has been made a big hole in our space now for almost 5 years. And I call it a little dark period. And right now we're starting to creep back up, and we're seeing innovation occur again. And we want to fill that void. We want to provide our incredible systems and allow people to innovate and connect to us and build their systems and bring more innovation to our space. Because without innovation, we're all going to suffer.
Right.
And our industry is going to suffer, our advisors are going to suffer, the end client's going to suffer. And when that happens, end clients are going to end up saying, is the RIA space the place I really want to be?
Right.
Is that where the innovation is? Is that where I'm being serviced to the best of my advisor's ability? We have to do that. If we stay legacy, we're just going to die like everyone else.
Well, take a step back in time. Let's talk about legacy, but in a positive framework. We talk about legacy systems. That's not a good connotation, but we want to step back in time with you and understand like your personal legacy.
Yeah.
Like, why did you get into this industry in the first place? Like, what spurred you to start up TradePMR and even before that?
Yeah. Quick story is, I was 13 years old. I sat on my grandfather's lap. He was a big investor. He loved to buy stocks and work his portfolio. And he had an advisor, and he taught me how to read the Wall Street Journal at 13 years old. And I just was enamored. And the next step is he took me to see his broker, and I met with her at his office with him, and they went through his portfolio and talked about some of the stocks he owned and so forth. And she, at the end of the day, she looked at me and she said, "Sonny, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to do what you do." But I was a little more sort of a smart aleck, and I didn't know it at the time, but I said, "But I'd really just rather own the firm." Well, my grandfather kind of grabbed me by the ear and pulled me out and said, "Don't ever talk like that again," and because it was a little disrespectful. But that was my experience, and so I really grew up saying that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, I started off as an intern my sophomore year of college and never looked back.
Wow.
That's really cool.
I love that it was your grandfather that brought you into the business. A lot of times we hear our families or our parents, or our parents didn't know much about the industry, so they, I wanted to learn more. But your family, starting with your grandfather, brought you into this so early on. I think that's such a magical conversation to have with kids. We have conversations like this all the time with our kids. Our kids are younger-ish. Mine's 11, so we're starting to have these like true money conversations with them. And so I feel like our generation of children are going to want and feel like this is an industry where they feel wanted and needed. And I just love that your grandfather started that off early for you.
Yes. I'm eternally grateful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the last question we always love to ask on this podcast is, we all are, successful in our own rights in this industry, but we all have those stumbling blocks. What is one money mishap that you had in your in your
That's a nice way to phrase it.
Life?
Yeah.
That's very polite.
Money mishap. Well, we started TradePMR in 1998, right? So you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And everything was great in 1998. Everything looked amazing. The next thing you know, we had the dot-com crash instantaneously a few years later. 9/11 hit really, really hard. All these things were just bam, bam, bam. And then we got to about 2004, and we had a fraudulent event occur where a fraudulent customer deposited $250,000 and started wiring out $10,000 at a time very erroneously, and had the money invested and everything. And we didn't see what was going on until a year later. We got a notice that a company had asked for that check to be returned that got deposited, and it was a fraudulent check.
Wow.
And it was $250,000 at a time in my life after starting TradePMR, which at that time was not profitable yet.
Right.
And I was pouring money in it left and right, that I had to come up with $250,000, mortgaged my house, kept things afloat, and 6 years later was able to pay off that note. But it just took a lot. And it was one of those moments where you go, that was probably the biggest mistake that ever happened to me, and needless to say, we haven't had that happen since.
Yeah. You took away the right learnings from it.
Yes.
It hasn't happened, and clearly you're on the right side now.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's also commendable that you did go and pay that note back instead of just saying, sorry, we're going to close the door and reopen up or under some, we've seen many of that.
Well, it was the right thing to do. And when those cases exist, you can never find who the perpetrator is.
Right.
They've done too many things to cover up who they are. So you just got to do the right thing and turn it around and live with it and try to come out of it. And we did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Rob, again, congrats on the Robinhood news, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Yep.
Thank you.